Hi guys! A few of you requested videos on dividing by fractions, and so I thought I would put all of our methods that we've done together into one video and do an extra problem from the homework with you. So there are three methods that we talked about during class. There's the original method, which is the one where we start with a certain number of circles and then we're splitting it into smaller pieces and then counting how many of different groups there are. Then we have the yellow method, which if you're in first period, you have no idea what that is because it was named after your class during third period. This is the one where you start with a certain number of circles and you're grouping some of them together. And then the last method that we have is a method for dividing fractions by fractions. So what happens if the first number is a fraction instead of a whole number or a mixed number? Let's start with the original method. In some classes, we called this the red method. It has nothing to do with the color red. It was just another color that was not yellow. So we're going to start with this one right here, 9 divided by 3/4. This one is nice because it doesn't have any leftovers to it. And a trick to tell if it's going to have leftovers or not is to look at the whole number and the numerator. If the numerator can divide into the whole number, there will be no leftovers. So this first one, 9 divided by 3/4, will have no leftovers. But this one right here, 5 divided by 3/4, will have leftovers because 3 doesn't divide nicely into 5. So with the original method, what we did is we started with the first number, and we drew 9 of whatever that first number is. Some of you realize that you like drawing rectangles and boxes better than circles. Totally fine. The next thing we look at is the denominator of the fraction. This tells us how many pieces to split each of our circles or rectangles into. I guess you can make other shapes too, but most people stick with circles and rectangles. And then the final thing that we look at is the numerator up top. It tells us how many pieces to count before moving on to the next number. So normally we count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but this tells us to count the number 1 3 times before moving on. Then count the number 2 3 times before moving on. So we would do 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8, 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, 11, 11, 11, and 12, 12, 12. This did work out nicely like we expected it to, and I ended on 12, which means that 9 divided by 3/4 equals 12. Happy face. Okay, let's look at the second one, 5 divided by 3/4, and we will look at the leftovers also. I picked a smaller number just to make my life a little bit easier, so I'm going to draw 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, they all fit side by side. Then I'm going to look at the denominator. It tells me to split them into 4 pieces again. Taking care of that. And finally, I'm looking at the numerator. It tells me how many to count. So I'm counting 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6, 6. Uh-oh, I've got 2 pieces left over. So when you end up with your leftovers, you're going to draw what we called a leftovers diagram. And you draw this diagram based on how many pieces you're trying to count. So up here, we were trying to count 3 pieces at a time. And we knew we didn't have enough because we only had 2. So my leftovers diagram, I wished that I could have 3 pieces. But unfortunately, I only have ended up with 2 pieces, and that came from these 2 right here. And if we were to ask somebody who wasn't thinking about this problem too hard, we only ask them to look at this diagram right here and ask them what fraction it is, they would say 2/3. So the answer to 5 divided by 3/4 is, there are 6 wholes, that's the highest number we could get to by counting groups of 3, and there was 2/3 of a group left over. Happy face. Okay, so let's move on to our next method. I'm going to do the same problems because we know what the answers should be and we can compare them. Hi, honey.
Hi.
Bye. Bye. My husband said hi. So this one is the yellow method. Again, it has nothing to do with the color yellow. That was the name that was chosen during 3rd period by the person who invented this. So the yellow method, it shall be called. The yellow method starts differently. We do not start with the first number. Oh, you know what would be helpful is if I gave the phrase for the yellow method. So when you're thinking of the yellow method, in the red method, the question is, how many 3/4 fit into 9? Did I say the red method? In the red method, it's how many 3/4 fit into 9. In the yellow method, it's 9 is 3/4 of what number? Okay. So in yellow method, we are going to start with the fraction hanging out in the back and draw 3/4. I recommend circles with this method. I have drawn 4 circles, and I'm going to connect 3 of them together. So now I have taken care of 3/4. Okay. This phrase 9 is 3/4 is what helps us know that these 3 circles that I looped together are all equal to 9. 9 is 3 out of 4. So we need to split this 9 between the 3 circles evenly, which would give us 3 in each circle. We can check and make sure we got this right by adding all of them together. 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 3 is 9. We nailed it. The same number goes into any circles that are outside of the group. And then your final answer is adding all of the circles together. So in this case, 9 divided by 3/4 equals 12, because it's 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And just to confirm, yep, that's the same answer that we got on that side. So happy face. All right, one more with this. So this question is going to be 5 is 3/4 of what number? We start with the fraction. 1, 2, 3, 4. And connecting 3 out of the 4 together. And this time, the 3 out of 4 is equal to 5 instead. And 5 doesn't divide quite as nicely as the 9 did. But we do know our trick from the licorice. 5 divided by 3 equals 5 divided by 3. So we're going to put that number inside each circle. And add all 4 of them together. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 20. And when we add fractions, the denominator stays the same. And if I were to convert this into a mixed number, 3 can fit into 20 6 times, and I would have 2 leftover pieces. So 5 divided by 3/4 equals 6 2/3. Let's double check that. Yep, that's what we got. Happy face.